Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Drew Ballard. Looks like we still are waiting on some attendees that registered. So we're going to just give them a few more minutes to jump on. A few things to point out while you're waiting. One, you should see a questions box at the bottom of your screen. So everybody's automatically on mute as an attendee, but as we go through the presentation, if you have any questions at all, you can submit them through that questions box, and we will be monitoring those throughout the presentation so that we can answer them as they come in. And then obviously at the end, we'll answer any questions that come in after the end of the presentation as well. Also, you'll notice that we have handouts. We included one handout there that goes over the security of the system that we're going to be going through today. So if you wanted to download that or take a look at that, you could do that. Like I said, we're just going to wait a few more minutes. Looks like we're still waiting on maybe 3 or 4 people to join. So we'll give them a few more minutes before we get going, and then we'll get going with the demonstration. Thanks a lot. Okay, good morning, everybody. Looks like we have almost everybody that registered, so we'll go ahead and get going, and if they pop on soon, then they'll should catch most of it. Again, my name is Drew Ballard. I'm an actuary with Foster & Foster. I also have Braylene Scott on the line with me, who's going to do most of the demonstration for the software. Just real quick, brief introduction into what we'll be demonstrating today. As some of you may know, Foster & Foster started a plan administration division a few years back. And throughout the process of the last few years of being in the plan administration business, we kind of noticed this need for, something that's not such a manual process as many administrators use, and some kind of software that can be used to coordinate the actuary with the administration, with the membership. So we went through a process of reviewing lots of platforms available and ended up deciding and going with the platform we're going to be showing today. So, one thing that we're really excited about this platform is obviously it's really, we feel it's beneficial to the members, because as you'll see, it allows the membership to have their own separate login, and as long as they have access to the internet, they can run as many benefit estimate calculations as they would like. Whereas currently, most plans operate where the member's given one estimate calculation and one final calculation that the board will pay for, or the pension fund will pay for. This really allows those members to run as many estimate calculations as they see fit as they're going through their retirement process. It allows them to run different estimates. Well, what if I retire today or a month from now or a year from now, and compare how that will change not only their monthly benefit, but also maybe their drop balance. So a couple other things. It helps the administrator would also have a login to be able to view all of those calculations being ran, and would be able to communicate through the platform with the members. And we'll show all that here in a second. And the other thing is, since we're storing the data on the administration platform, it also makes the data process more efficient when it comes time to do the actuarial valuation at the end of every fiscal year. So a lot of that communication platform, it also, it helps makes things more efficient from an administrative perspective, and really helps streamline some of those processes. A few things to keep in mind as we go through the demonstration here in a moment. One, we set up, kind of a baseline template for the purposes of the demonstration, just to show the features, but I really want you guys to keep in mind that the site, the platform is very customizable. So if you have anything, well, can it do this, can do this, you can ask. The answer is probably yes. We can really customize every feature on this site to best tailor to your individual plan. Okay, so we've had a lot of different questions come up. So just keep that in mind as we go through what you see, and we'll try to point it out as well, that we can really make that, add things, add information, and make it customizable so that it best suits your needs and gives you the best experience. We did a webinar last Tuesday as well, and obviously one of the biggest questions that we got was, what was the cost? And obviously, there's a few different variables that will determine what the cost would be for your plan. One, how many members do you have? How big is the plan? Two, how complex are the benefits? Because we would need to code up those benefits so that they're calculated properly on the software. So really, the pricing structure will depend on a few variables, but typically the way that it works is we have a one-time implementation fee to set up the site for the plan, and then we'll have an ongoing annual fee to go along with that. So once we go through the demonstration, if you're interested in receiving a formal quote at the end, we'd be happy to provide that, and you'll see our contact information to follow up with any specific questions as well. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Braylene, and she should be sharing her screen here with you momentarily, and then we'll get through the demonstration.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show my screen to you. So if you are unable to see the screen in a second, please let us know. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start the demonstration here. This is just the home page, so if any of the staff or administrators were to log in, this is what they would see here. You can see the logo at the top of the screen here. We can change that logo. If there's a logo for your specific pension fund, we can add that up top. There's a contact phone number and email. We can set that up so that members can click this button and directly send you an email through the system, or have your phone number right here so that if they have any questions as they're using the system, it's very easy to contact the person that they need to get a hold of. So we have this pension news feed here. We can add any announcements that are important to the membership here. So if we want to share upcoming meetings, if there has been a COLA that has just been announced, a cost of living adjustment, we could put those types of information and headlines here so that the whole membership can see what's going on and be privy to what's important and what's going on with the plan right now. So I'm going to go ahead and open a participant here to demonstrate the features of the system. The system's really nice in that you can search for members by Social Security, last name, or last initial. We know that some plans are pretty large and people could have similar last names or even the same name. So it's really easy to find participants within this system. So once we open a participant, we'll get this pension summary, and this is the view that the participant will have when they log in. Right when they log in, they will see this summary of their own individual information. So at the top, we have the current accrued benefit, the vesting percentage, and the current retirement benefit. Now, if this person was not vested, this second line would say 0% vested, and this third line would have a red X, and it would say the date that this person would become vested in the plan. And something that our administrators really like is that, so this is the first screen that the member sees when they log in, and they'll see this beneficiary information right when they log in. So if this is blank or out of date, it's really easy to see that, and it's really easy to contact whoever they need to in order to get that updated if necessary. And it's also good for the administrators. If the administrator was to open this person's account, they could also see whether or not there's a beneficiary on file for this member. If there was no beneficiary, they'd be able to reach out to the member and get that squared away. We also have some personal information shown here and some portal login information here. So the administrator would be able to tell whether or not this member is using the system. And this screen here is very customizable. We can add any sort of data information that you want. We have some plans that have different pieces of benefits, and some of those benefits are frozen. So we'll show the frozen benefit on this main screen. Sometimes we'll do a breakdown of the credited service. So we'll show vesting service, credited service, any buyback service.
Life-to-date contributions we could also show on the home screen.
Right, we can, I'm not sure if you guys heard that, but Drew mentioned that we can show life-to-date contributions on this home screen. Again, pretty much any data that is stored on the system, we could add to this main page. Whatever is most important for the members to know, or for your administrators to know, right when they log in, right when they open a participant's account, what is important for them to see. And then if we scroll down, we also see that pension news feed again. So again, any announcements or anything that you want your membership to be aware of, we would post that here. We also have the latest benefit statement on this homepage as well. So this would be the green sheets that we provide with the actuarial valuations every year. So the most recent green sheet would be would show on that link on the homepage. So every year we'll run the green sheets on this system, and in this person's account there would be an archive of every single green sheet every single year. So it's really nice for them to be able to see how their benefits have changed year to year, and they'll have all that information stored on this system. So now I'm going to run some calculations for you to demonstrate the capabilities here. So I'll run a life-to-date contribution right now. So this will run as of today. We want the members to agree to terms and conditions here, and we can use this generic language that comes with the system, or if your attorney wants to draft some language, we can customize that as well. So we'll agree to the terms and conditions, and we'll store this calculation in the file. Typically, we automatically store any calculations that are run. That way, if the member has any questions and they call, they'll be able to, you will be able to pull up that calculation and see the same thing they see. And if you have any questions for us, we would also be able to see that information. So right away, we can get an idea of the contributions that have been made to the fund. So sometimes people will need this information as proof of funds, or if they're considering, a change in careers or anything else, they would be able to see this information as up to date as the information we are provided. So sometimes we are provided with biweekly payroll feeds, so this number could be as up to date as a few days. So now I'm going to run a drop estimate here. And again, I'll run it as of today, as if this member's last day was today, and commences on May 1st. So if we have a beneficiary stored within the system, it will automatically populate here, but we can run unlimited number of calculations on this system. So we can run different scenarios with different beneficiaries. We're also able to change the pay increases. So if this member wasn't eligible until 2020, we'd be able to assume 1%, 2% pay increases from now until 2020. We'd be able to run all those different scenarios there.
Yeah, just one thing to add before we see the calculation results is this, as Braylene probably mentioned, is very user friendly. So if somebody entered in a date before they were actually eligible to retire, the system would let them know that the earliest date they could enter. So it would help them if they inputted wrong dates. You can see there that she tried to put a date that wasn't the first of the month, and it says, please enter a pension start date that's the first of the month. If they tried to enter a date again before they were eligible, it would let them know the earliest date they were eligible so that they could run the calculation appropriately. Another thing is, like I said at the beginning of the introduction, this system allows members to run as many calculations as they want. So if they're considering working one more year or not, they can see how their benefit would change. They would, as Braylene mentioned, they could enter what pay increase they would expect to get that year. That could be obviously subject, we could make that so they can't enter over a certain amount so that their estimates aren't based on, very aggressive assumptions. But again, keep in mind, all these calculations will be stored in their file so that they can review them later. They can go to a financial consultant and log on to their site there and review those individual calculations to really give them what we feel is as much information as possible to make an informed decision as they go through the retirement process.
Right, and as I mentioned previously, this information is as up to date as the information that we receive to put into the system. So if we're receiving biweekly payroll feeds, these calculations are very, very accurate, very up to date, very good planning tools here. So if I open this participant's documents, we can see all the calculations that are stored here. So we can edit these calculations so that when we go back later on, we know what each calculation is here. So the first calculation we ran was the life-to-date contributions. The second one was just a normal retirement calculation. And the third was a normal retirement calculation with a salary increase. But if they're going to commence on May 1st, then it's going to essentially be the same calculation there. One thing I wanted to point out as well, so I'll go ahead and run this calculation again here. We have the capability of providing members with drop estimates as well. So we run this calculation. There's all the different options here, lump sum options, all the different single life options and joint annuitant options. And then we have a description of the benefits here. Again, completely customizable. Any descriptions that you have used in the past, we could add here. We can edit this. We can add any pages that you might want to add for the members here. But then we also have this drop estimate where we show what the drop balance would be if the member participates for the maximum participation period. So if they chose a lifetime option here with a 0% lump sum, their maximum drop balance would be $300,076.
Yeah, so just to be clear on what we're seeing here, the pages we're looking at right now are saying, okay, normally the member would get one benefit calculation that shows each optional form. The page here shows, well, here's each optional form and here's what your drop balance would be if you stayed in for the maximum participation period. So this really gives the member a lot more information to say, well, if I choose this benefit, maybe 100 JS, here's what my monthly benefit would be, but here's also what my drop lump sum would be. So it gives them a lot of information available when they're making, again, that important retirement decision.
Okay. So,
and last thing I'd say there is any forms that you guys may use in your normal retirement application, we can have those we can create those on our system to be the same, and then we can use the mail merge fields to have them populate automatically, which, as I mentioned in the introduction, removes some of that manual process of entering each participant's information on the paperwork, because we can have all those forms populated automatically, similar to the forms you're using now. So we can customize it, again, any way that we need to.
okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and go back to these pension documents here. So every account will have individual documents. So these are individual calculations and statements for this member. Then we also have company documents that are viewable to the entire membership. So we have a summary plan description, a meeting agenda. We can add any documents here that we want. Sometimes we add address change forms, so a member could literally download an address change form, fill it in, and then upload it again. And if a member uploads their own document here, we can send out email notifications to the administrators, whoever else needs to be notified when something like that happens.
Just real quick, Raylene, we had a question come in. So the question was, how can you project the drop estimate with the variable rate that has been selected?
So when there's a variable rate, we could either assume 0% or we could assume like the plan's actuarial assumed rate of return. It would really depend on what you want to do. To be more conservative, I think we would want to lean towards that 0%. So the final drop balance would just be the number of months they could participate in the drop times that benefit amount for each option.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we could decide, you know, with the board or with the administration. Again, we would want to put disclosures or in the terms and conditions in there to say the interest will be based on the actual returns of the plan. We have assumed this percentage for purposes of this estimate. And then Braylene will show you in a little bit what a drop member's account would look like on the portal.
Right. So again, very customizable. All of these decisions would be made during the implementation phase of the project here. So just another thing to point out here is the quick links. So if there are forms or documents that are currently used frequently by the members or by the administrators, we can add that here to make it really easy to get to those forms. We also have various data items stored for each member, and as I'm going through this, keep in mind that we will set up each of these data items to enable different people to view or edit these. So typically we'll have the member be able to view all of their data, and we'll have the administrator able to edit all of the data here. So we just have some basic information, we'll have beneficiary information, and we can store details for up to 5 different beneficiaries here. We also have address, banking information, withholding information, different dates. So if someone has a break in service, went on military leave, anything of that nature, we'd be able to store all of that data and all of that detail in the system. We also have amounts here. So this is really the most customizable part of the data. So any amounts that we have stored in the system would show here. So right now, for this purpose of the demonstration, we just have annual earnings and employee contributions. But we have members who are making biweekly payroll deductions to purchase service. We can show that. We can show pretty much any numerical data on this system right here, and we can group them by year just as a quick summary here, which is nice. We also have benefit information. This person for demo is currently active, so we don't have any benefit payment information here, but I'll show you that once I open a retiree.
And Braylene, we go to the amounts again.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to point something out here, and I don't think we've mentioned it yet. So we have some clients on the portal currently, and the way that they are operating is each time, let's say they get paid, the city pays them, the employees, every other week. So each time there's a biweekly payroll feed, we receive that from the administrator or from the city and upload that into our system. So the amounts displayed here, we could show those biweekly payroll feeds for each person so they can see that, yeah, the paychecks they've been receiving are what are being used to perform the calculations. Now, the other benefit to that is if you think about right now, we're almost to May 1st. Well, the last fiscal year ended all the way back in October. So if we're using those biweekly payroll feeds, we're getting all the pay information for the last 7 months. And that allows those calculations to be even more
up to date than those benefit statements.
Right, even more precise based on receiving the most recent pay instead of estimating what they would have made for the last 7 months. So it really gives the most accurate picture of each person's pension calculations because we're getting that payroll every 2 weeks and uploading that into our system. And again, that also will help us when the fiscal year is over to run those exports to help streamline and make the data process more efficient between receiving that information from the city and using it for our actuarial evaluations. And Braylene will show you in a moment how easy it is for either the administrator or somebody else to upload that payroll file into our system, which we get notified immediately, and then we can download it into our system and run checks.
Right, so I'll do that really quick here. But another thing to note is that if we receive biweekly payroll feeds, that we're continuously doing data reconciliation. So if someone falls off the payroll feed and we don't have a date of termination, we'll get a flag. If someone's pay increases or decreases by a certain amount that we determine, we'll get a flag. So we're constantly doing data checks as we receive this information throughout the year, which again helps the valuation process go a lot smoother.
Yeah, so, and we got another question here that's applies to the payroll stuff. So the question is, how are you determining pensional earnings from non-pensional earnings? Is this captured in the payroll data you receive?
So usually we'll just receive an output from the payroll department and we'll determine that depending on what we receive. Usually there's different pay codes that determine whether or not different types of earnings are pensionable. So we'll get that all ironed out as we implement the system and code the system. But as long as the payroll department is providing us with spreadsheets that are in the exact same layout, then it's very easy for us to import that information. And the payroll department typically doesn't have to manipulate their spreadsheets very much. We can just extract the information that we need. The payroll department typically won't have to do much with their output on their end.
Yeah, really, you know, the first thing is, okay, here's our format. How do we determine that? How do we upload that in our system? As long as that format remains consistent from the payroll feed we're receiving, we'll be able to run all those checks to the system and upload it into our system with no problems.
So right now I'm just going to demonstrate how easy it is to upload any type of file on here. So I'll just upload a PDF, but as you can see, we can upload any types of files here. This is a plan document. You'll be able to determine whether or not this is only for administrators and staff, or if you want the entire membership to be able to view this document. So obviously if this was a payroll feed, we don't want the entire membership to have access to this. This is just a summary plan description, and we'll just add it in here. Simple as that, nothing to it. So if there is a payroll feed being uploaded here, then whatever actuaries on our end that are on the account will be notified by email that a new payroll feed has been uploaded.
Right, so as you saw, Braylene just uploaded a sample summary plan description. So that SPD is now in each individual's account. So anything you wanted to share with each, you could either share it with all members, or you could even share it with certain individual members through the administration login.
Okay, so go
I'm
ahead.
just gonna add one more thing on the pension documents. That's also a good place where clients will store a lot of forms that the members may want to access. So if there's a change of beneficiary form, change of, any kind of form that you want, that, the members may be distributed typically when they're hired or anything like that, can now be uploaded into their account so that they have online access to that instead of having to store a paper file or something like that.
Okay, so another great feature of the system is this work track. So we can basically keep track of every single request that's going on here. So we requested a retirement for John Doe here. So we can set a step-by-step process from when he initiates this retirement request to when it is finalized. So whatever your system might be, we can add different steps. We'll go into each step and determine who is able to complete it, if there needs to be a document upload with each step, if this step needs to be done before other steps can be started, whatever it might be, we can completely customize whatever process you have, whether it's a retirement request, a refund request, submitting the data for the actuarial evaluation, whatever it may be, we can create a different process for that and keep everything centralized in one location. It's really great for transparency. So if you have a member wanting to retire, you'll be able to see where the calculation is step by step, whether it's waiting for the last payroll feed to run, if the calculation is being completed, if it's being reviewed, has it been sent back to the administrator, are we waiting on the member to make their benefit election, whatever it might be, we can see step by step what happened, who has done what, if it's on hold for whatever reason, if we're waiting on certain information, we can do that. And again, we can set up different kinds of tasks for any process that you might have here.
Yeah, and just to add a few things there, as I mentioned in the introduction, we feel like the system really helps some of the communication between not only administrators and maybe the actuary, but also with the members, because I'm sure a lot of you have members, they say, I want to submit a retirement request, and then a day later they call and say, okay, where are the numbers? When's it going to be ready? Well, now you can really track all of that. Obviously you have to get certain pay information from the city, send it to the actuary. You can track all of those steps, either that you use internally or that we can customize here, so that when they do call in, you can say, well, here's where we are, here's what's done, here's what we're waiting on, here's when we anticipate to get that back. So we feel like it helps make that more organized and efficient. And I think Braylene will show you now how easy it is for that member to actually submit that request.
Right, so I will delete this one just to show you from scratch. So if this member were to log in, they would be able to essentially initiate the process here. So once they submit the retirement request through the system, the administrator would be notified of that, and they would be able to get the ball rolling and start the next step, whatever that might be for your particular plan. So this member is basically saying, I'm ready to retire, and sending an email request to whoever is in charge of that. And they can add any information they would like with that request, whether it be I'm available to meet on whatever day or whatever it might be. So once they submit that request, the administrator is notified, and then the process would begin. We also have a way to display different kinds of reports here. So just for this demonstration purpose, I created a spreadsheet that shows one retiree and their benefit amount, but really we can create any type of spreadsheet report that you might need, whether it's for your custodians, if we need benefit amounts, if it's after a cost of living adjustment, we need the prior benefit amounts and then the new benefit amounts, whatever it may be. Again, as long as the information is stored on our system, we can run whatever reports that we want on this system. If you need addresses of all active members, we'd be able to run that report. Whatever it might be, we can create a spreadsheet for you and update it however often that is necessary that you would be able to access within the system here. Okay, so now I'm just going to open a drop participant to show you that perspective really quick.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, we do have a few clients already on the system, and one thing they were asking was, how can we get drop members involved here? How can we use this to help our drop folks? So we've gone through some coding changes so that now the drop people can access this as well. So what Baylene's going to show you here is all the information we can store for drop participants so that they can see how their account is changing each month.
Right, so this person, for the purpose of the demo, is in the drop. So right when they log in, they see their current drop balance and their current monthly benefit amount. So if this person had fixed interest, then this would be very up to date. It would include all the interest up to date and benefit payments. So if tomorrow is May 1st, then we would add another $5,000 to this amount because that benefit payment would be made. So this would update automatically. This member could check their balance every single day and it would be up to date every single day that they logged in. If this member had the variable rate interest, then this amount would update as soon as we received the return from the investment consultant. We would add that information into the portal and then their balances would be updated as well. We also have information here. So if I was an administrator, I would see that there's no beneficiary information stored. So I would probably want to reach out to this member and have them fill out a beneficiary form. So as I mentioned before, we also can store benefit amounts here. So if this person had cost of living adjustments, we'd be able to see all of that data, the start and end dates of each payment. If this person chose a joint annuitant, we would be able to see that information as well. And if the benefit payment changed due to Social Security, if they chose a Social Security option, we would see that detail here as well. And also we can store withholding and banking information as well, if that's something that you desire. We can also store the drop schedules in this participant document here. So since this is fixed interest, we would be able to see the drop schedule in its entirety. They would be able to see that the information that they're seeing on their homepage matches their drop schedule. They'd be able to compare that information here. And again, so they have benefit statements and drop schedules here. And again, we see these company documents that this person can view as well. I think that pretty much covers the main features. I can go ahead and show you some of the settings here that we would go through with you during the implementation phase. So we can add different instructions or different comments, caveats, anything like that on any of the pages that we saw here. So on the calculation page, you might want to provide some sort of instructions for the members before they run their calculation estimate. So we could add that here. Pension documents, if we're allowing members to upload their own documents, we might want to add a couple sentences there. So here we have different screens. So right now we have it set up so participants wouldn't be able to add documents. But again, as we're going through this, everything's customizable. Different things will apply to different plans. And we'll go through this with you every single option that we have available, we'll go through. And once you start using the system, if you would like to make changes, you would just give us a call and be able to change the different settings here. So we have different like password requirements and security features as well. The system is very secure. Information's not stored on the internet within the system, which is really nice. So again, just lots of different options here, and again, very customizable. We will try to make the system work for you as much as we can, and hopefully be able to satisfy all your requirements and anything that you hope that the system is able to do.
Yeah, so just a few other comments. So here's Braylene and I's contact information. So as I mentioned at the beginning, we did a webinar last Tuesday and had a number of people contact us looking for a quote. And a lot of people were wondering what the cost was. Well, as I mentioned, that's going to depend on your plan specifics in order to provide that quote based on benefit provisions, size of the plan, stuff like that. What I would like to mention, again, I mentioned that the fee structure is typically there's an implementation fee to do all the work to get it implemented on the system. And then there's the annual ongoing fee. A couple things to note on those two. The implementation fee, a lot of our clients on the system now said, we'd like you to come out and do some kind of a workshop to show our members, interactively how to use the system. So we have included any on-site workshops as part of that implementation fee so that we can come out, answer questions, and really give a little more hands-on experience there so that the members have more exposure to how we would navigate through the system. The second thing is that ongoing fee. We've had people say, well, what if we go through a benefit change or anything like that? That ongoing fee really includes all the maintenance required to keep your plan up to date. So if there's a benefit improvement or any changes, that ongoing fee would include our time and resources to update the system to reflect any of those benefit changes.
And not related to cost, but if you're one of our current clients, the actuaries that work on your account are the ones that are coding the system. They're the ones that will make sure that the benefit calculations are very accurate, that if we were given the same information to do a final calculation, it would match to the penny. So we're not sending this stuff out to be coded by a third party or anything like that. The actuaries that work on your plan, that know your plan, are the ones that are setting this up and making sure that everything is accurate and in line with how we're doing the final benefit calculations and how we are funding in the valuation.
Right, and then we do a lot of testing in-house. Once it's coded, we do a lot of testing to make sure that all different sorts of scenarios that we're still matching the benefits, matching the optional forms of payment. So it's really giving the best estimate possible for these members as they go through selecting the retirement process. And again, what we feel one of the biggest advantages is it gives the members the ability to run as many estimates as they want to give them as much information as possible when they're just trying to decide when to retire to maximize their retirement benefits. At this point, I think that really wraps up the demonstration of the software. We'll stay on the line here for another few minutes to see if any questions come in. But again, you can see Braylene and I's contact information here. You have Foster & Foster's number, I'm sure, 239-433-5500. And then our email's there as well. So if you'd like to give us a call to talk about any certain features or email us with any questions, please do so. We'd be happy to take the time to answer any questions you may have. But again, we will stay on the line here for a few more minutes to see if any questions pop up. Okay, it looks like we haven't really gotten any questions about the system itself coming in. So at this point, on behalf of Bailey and I just wanted to thank you for taking some time today to go through the webinar with us and take a look at the, what we feel is an exciting new technology feature that Foster + Foster is providing. And again, if you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to give us a call or reach out to us directly via email. Thank you guys so much for taking the time, and have a great day.